All right. Now let's get back to the screen again. Where did it go? All right. I'll just download it and that way it'll be on here. Hi. I'm good. How are you? Feel free to wander on through. You're good. All right. Are you guys seeing the form?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm just going to kind of run through it on here so that we can just kind of see what they've changed on it. So on the HOA Plan Community Addendum form, the change on it is it covers the fact that sometimes there are fees that have not been disclosed. And when it comes to closing, then we have to try to figure out who's paying for those fees. So they have added lines. Any additional? Wow, what was that?
That was me.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so it's any additional fees that are not disclosed on page 1 and payable on due of close of escrow are to be paid by the buyer, seller, or other. So I know that the Bray team, and there are some other agents also that automatically did this anyway. They wrote that in the extra terms on the on that HOA addendum. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the HOA addendum real quick. CD HOA community addendum. Let's do standalone form. All right. So on page 1 where it says who pays the fees and everything on there. So if it's not explained on there, other fees explanation. If there's nothing there, then what they've done is on page 3. Now we've got 75 and 76. Any additional fees not disclosed on page 1 and payable upon close of escrow shall be paid for buyer, seller, or other. And then there's still the extra line to type in whatever you want. What people were doing before is they were just adding that verbiage in here. Any additional fees that weren't disclosed are to be paid for by the seller. So that was one of the things they would add on. So you can say who pays what. I don't know why a buyer would ever want to say that they will pay whatever fees are not disclosed. That just opens them up to a whole lot of trouble that I don't think anybody would want to be in. So the only reason I can think of that might happen is if somebody knows the HOA and they know everything, you know, all the fees that are going to be, you know, that are going to be charged to them, they may be comfortable checking that box. iBuyers, somebody like that might be okay checking that box because they don't really care.
I guess it depends on how thorough the form was filled out in the first place, right?
Yeah, exactly. It goes back to that page 1 and how thorough was page 1 filled out. Did they fill out any of the other fees? Did they fill out any if there were any transfer fees, or if there were any master association fees or anything like that, any cap improvements? You know, sometimes the seller, even though they're responsible for it, sometimes they are not very thorough in what they get and where they grab their information from. So it's always good to double check on that if you are the buyer's agent, just to kind of try to do a double check with the HOA to make sure that everything is on the up and up and that you know all the fees. But are there any questions about what that line is and how to use it? And
I do have one comment about it, Todd.
Yes.
From the title company, from escrow sign, one of the things that folks have discussed is the rush fee for HOA.
Oh yeah.
So that would be one of those checked boxes. If there's a rush, if the HOA is taking time, maybe the buyer does want to move things along. The seller, if it checks seller, the seller's responsible for that additional rush fee, unless it's somehow
unless it was disclosed in there
beyond this HOA deadline.
Yeah, if you put it in maybe on line 76, rush fee to be paid for by buyer or whatever, that way it would work.
Yeah.
But that's a great point, because that rush fee is something that, you know, would be an extra fee. Yes.
What is a rush fee? I'm not familiar with that.
The rush fee is if you need to get your documents and everything from the HOA company. If you need to get your rules and regs and the CC&Rs and everything, if you need to get those quickly, like if you're doing a quick close, sometimes they will charge a rush fee that can be upwards of a couple $100 to
Wow.
get.
So by state law, the HOA has 10 business days to give that to you after they receive a request. So the rush fee is their way of saying, we'll move it up to the front of the line, but we're going to get paid a little more for that.
So
Right.
how long does it usually take for them to provide the documentation to you?
It depends on the HOA. It all depends on the management company.
So if
If
they
they're-
say that the duration is going to be greater than, you know, what they usually do, then they charge you the rush fee, basically.
If
They
you
will
need
offer
it, yeah, they'll
will
offer it, yeah. And if you
Gotcha,
look
okay.
at line 27 right here, it says each association may charge a rush fee of no more than $100 if rush services are required to be performed within 72 hours after the request. So if you need it within 72 hours, they may charge you a rush fee of up to $100 is what that's saying.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Let's see. And-
Otherwise, we're talking about 5 to 6 days on a regular basis. that the
Generally, yep.
The escrow officer will have that back.
And then once the escrow company has that and supplies it to the buyer, how long does the buyer have to review those? 5 days? Does that seem like the right number?
Feels like it to me.
Yeah, everything's 5 days. It's all 5 days, except for the cure period, that's 3 days. So the buyer has 5 days to review those documents and say whether or not that they are okay with what's in them. So let's just say we have a deal that opens escrow today, and 3 days from now, you get the HOA documents, you get the packet, the HOA documents. How many days do you have to review that? 5 days? That would be the general consensus, right? You would get 5 days to review it. Well, your inspection period's 10 days. So if you look in the purchase contract, if we went to the purchase contract and looked it up, it would tell you that you get 5 days or the end of the inspection period, whichever is later. So if you still have 10 days in your inspection period, you have until the end of the 10 days to review your HOA documents.
So you're saying after your inspection period's over, because some of these title companies are a little slow,
Yep,
day 11, day 12, you're getting CC&Rs for the very first time.
yep.
You still have the 5 days.
You still have 5 days. Even if your inspection period has ended, you have the remainder of the 5-day period from whenever you get those documents.
So what you're saying is usually for the whole process to complete itself, it can take about 10 days from the time that the documents is requested from the HOA to actually getting the documents back by the buyer.
Yeah,
Takes
it can
about
be
10
10
days.
days or longer. I mean, it just depends on how quickly the property management company gets you that packet. And like Mike said, some of them are very slow. Some of them, it may take them a week. I've seen some of them where it takes them almost the full 30 days before they get the packet to them. And they
Wow.
finally get the packet, and then the buyer still would have 5 days at that point to review those documents and make sure that there wasn't anything in there that they objected to. So you always have at least those 5 days to review your HOA documents. All right, the other piece that we had, let's see, where was that? The other piece that was in there was the multiple counter offers. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up here next again as well. But it's on here. It says the changes is to line 40 through 42, which currently states signature by seller below and delivery to buyer or buyer's broker as indicated above creates a binding agreement. Seller revokes all other counter offers by separate notice and agrees to sell the premises to buyer subject to the terms and conditions. And effective now, the way it reads is, let's see if I can blow that up a little bit more. There we go. Signature by seller below and delivery to buyer broker as indicated above creates a binding agreement. Seller agrees to revoke all counter offers previously conveyed to prospective buyers by separate notice and agrees to sell the premises to the buyer, except as modified in this multiple counteroffer. All other terms and conditions of the above referenced counteroffer remain unchanged and deemed accepted. So the difference between those two is that before it just said, yes, we're agreeing to sell the property to you, and that, you know, you're going to notify the other ones. This one specifically states in there that the seller is accepting your offer and that they are going to notify all the other parties that their offer has been rejected and that yours is the one that's being accepted.
And Todd, the case that Charlie mentioned yesterday was that, if they don't do that, then there is a legal option for the other guys to actually sue for, also, being in the running property, right?
Yeah, if they have not been rejected, then their offer is still valid as the way they are deeming it. So yes, unless the seller actually does the rejection of the other counter offers, those other counter offers are still active. And that's why there may be another buyer out there that might think, oh, great, well, we've got a deal. I'm going to go ahead and open up escrow. So unless you notify them that you're rejecting their offer, they feel that they've got an active offer that they can open escrow with.
That's a whole can of worms right there.
It is. And that's why and this is what Charlie brought this up, I think last time he was down here, he talked about the case that we had over in the Peoria office, where one of our agents actually, instead of sending out a multiple counteroffer form, just sent counteroffer forms back to two different parties. Both parties accepted the counteroffer. So the seller had in effect sold the property twice. So what he meant to do was to send out a multiple counteroffer, which would then require the seller to okay after they get the signed multiple counteroffer back. They would okay it and then reject the other one. But by sending out just a blank counteroffer without the multiple in it, both people accepted, both of them opened up escrow, and both of them wanted to buy the house. That ended up costing the agent pretty much all of his commission in order to settle it. So just want to make sure that when if you're going to do a multiple counter offer, that you make sure you use the multiple counter offer form. That's why I don't like to use the multiple counter offer form. I like to just go back to everybody and say, send me your highest and best offer. The seller will review, and then we'll move forward. Does that make sense?
Deanne, are you there?
I am.
Yes.
Okay. For any physical paper overlays like that, I was informed that you would have to go to your association again. They're the ones that carry them.
Who's talking? Who is that?
Phoenix Association?
Is that Sharon? Is that you that's not muted?
I do think so.
Let me see. I got you with the Phoenix Realtors, yes.
Okay, so I
would have to
call
I
them.
would give them a call
Sharon.
first. They have the stuff that you need. But
Dee Dee's not muted.
Is it? Where's Dee Dee at?
Okay,
Dee
and
Dee
you don't know where I could find it other than to call the Phoenix.
There we go. Thank you. I couldn't figure out which one it was. I'll grab that and pull that back off there again. Okay, so is there any other questions about this multiple counteroffer form and when to use it and when not to use it? Just reading through that again. And the primary reason for the revision is to help ensure the counteroffer not yet accepted is revoked by the seller before entering into the contract with the buyer. Otherwise, the seller can find themselves in a problematic situation, having sold the premises to more than one buyer. And it says, although the new verbiage achieves the same result, the secondary reason for the revision is that it emphasizes the fact that any previous terms and conditions not modified shall remain unaffected and considered to be accepted. So you don't have to state in there that all other terms and conditions remain the same, because that's stated in here now. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions about the two changes to the forms that we had today? All right, good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Armless, and I'm just going to show you guys quickly how I run comps, just if I'm wanting to run comps on a property. Amy, are you online?
I am.
What's the address of the property that you have?
628 East Calavar, Calvar.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick search. Once I get into quick search, I am going to go click on status. I hit my shift and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which takes me to closed. I want to pull up every status from active to closed. And then I'm going to select my date range, and I'm going to pull my close of escrow. Mine automatically defaults to 184. I'm going to pull it to the last 90 days. In our market, we want to see what's going on in the last 90 days. That will give us a better idea as to what our prices are. All right, it still says I've got 47,000. So now I've got to reduce this even more. So I'm going to just reduce it a little bit. I'm going to go by dwelling type. We know it's a single family house. And now I'm going to pull in the radius around that property, or the area around that property. So I'm going to click over here and close that. And then I'm going to see this little thumbtack down in the corner. I'm going to click on that and say that address one more time.
628 East Calavar Road, Phoenix, Arizona 85022.
All right. There we go. And that is the right location. So I'm going to say use this location. And then I'm going to use my little scroll button and scroll out a little bit. And I know this is Moon Valley, and I know that that is 7th Street. So I know I'm going to want to keep it in the Moon Valley area. So I'm just going to go Thunderbird. Oh, actually, I need to, oh, get away from there. I'm going to create a square. And we'll go clear over here. Now I click into that square. What's that?
Does everybody know how to use your map? Does your squares and rectangles?
Yeah, does everybody know how to use the little squares and rectangles and plots? If you want to do, a different thing down here, I'll show you how to do this one. If I wanted to just plot it myself, I could click on that one. Click, click. And then when you want to end it, double click on it. So we'll use that one. And then I'll just get rid of the other one. So I go up here, get rid of that rectangle. All right, so there's 41 properties in there.
Sorry, Todd.
And yes.
So do you use the 1 mile? I mean, usually I do like a radius. Do you use like a 1 mile distance from the property, or?
Sometimes it depends on the property. If I have a property that I know if I go in that mile radius that it's not going to change much as far as the values of neighborhoods. This is where it becomes very important to know your neighborhoods, because if you don't know that once you cross 40th Street that I'm entering into a new school zone, then that's going to definitely affect my values. Or if there's streets that are once you cross over them, you get into a different type of neighborhood. It's like if I took a Biltmore location, and if I'm in the middle of the Biltmore and I do a radius around that, I'm going to start pulling in all kinds of stuff that has no business being in a Biltmore location.
Yeah,
So,
that's why you use the polygon as well, right? Just to make sure your boundaries.
Exactly. That's why I would do it.
Correct.
So now if I need to change this in here, I can actually click inside of here, and it says I can edit. So if I click edit and I want to click edit shape, I can grab any of these dots and move them to wherever I want. So if, let's say I just wanted to take it up to Coral Gables, keep it inside the Coral Gables area, I can do that. And then I'll pull this one down over here. And when I'm finished, I just go leave shape mode. Okay, so now I've got everything inside the Moon Valley, inside that Coral Gables area. So now I'm going to drill it down even more. So I need to figure out a little bit more about the property. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click on Monsoon, and it's going to open up a new window. And I'm going to type in 628 East Calavar. All right, so there's the property there, so I can get some more information on it. It is 8,900 square feet lot, 2,150 square foot house, single story. So now I can go back in and plug some of that information into here. So I'm going to go in here and say that it is, I like to go between 10 and 15% up and above and below the square footage of the property to get my comps. So if this is 2,100 square feet, 10% is about 210 feet above and below. So I kind of round it up on each side. So if it's 2,100 square feet, I would probably go 1,800. And I would probably go up here, I'd go to 2,400.
Sorry, Todd, just to go off a little bit off this one. If you use the price, basically, get up there, the range, would you use the same 10% to 15%? Or is the measurement different?
For what? For
The
price?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Price.
determining price. So that's what I'm doing now is I'm trying to determine price. So I'm not going to go by what this would say if I did my comps over here on the tax records.
Right.
Sometimes I'll just look at that just to take a peek and see what it says. This is building square feet, and within the last 3 months, same stories, located within a half a mile. So if I did that, I can see that this is kind of the price in there, but I'm going to pull 4 and 5 out because again, they're on the other side of 7th Street and I don't want those in there. So I'm pulling 4 and 5 out of there. So then you've got basically these 4 would be in the same neighborhood. And you can see your prices anywhere from your low 83,000. What is 83,000? That's got to be.
That's a huge one.
What is that? Oh, that's this down here. Okay, we're going to remove that. Now, there we go. Now that jumps our price up to where it should be. So low price is 481, high price is 600. So based on that, you're saying the average is 536. If you've got an average house in that neighborhood, that's about what that property would be worth. So based on that, you can get a basic idea as to what the house would be worth from here. But I don't like to use the tax records so much as I like to use over here. So now I've got your square footage, interior levels. I only want to go one level because I only want to do single level houses. I don't want to get anything else in there. Okay, so that keeps me at 23. And I'm just going to take a peek over here at the detail and see what we've got for properties. Got that one is 520. We've got one for 550.
So just a quick question, the bedroom plus, is that saying it's potentially an additional bedroom that you could include in that? Or?
Yes, it's like having it's like having a den that could be converted into it, or it could be an extra room that could be converted into a bedroom.
That you
So that's
could
what
put
the
a
bedroom
closet in there.
plus means. Yeah. All right, 2136 square feet. Wow, this one's pretty close actually.
Yeah, it's a fixer upper too, though.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to take a look at. I was going to see the pictures and see what our competition was on that, because I know the shape of this one.
They're fun.
Yeah, wow.
You can keep the clothes that are in there though.
Yeah. Okay. So that is definitely, that's a 30-year-old house that needs to be updated. Yeah.
And that's on the other side of the street.
Why am I not pulling yours up?
It looked like it was unclicked. Oh, 2410 is what it was at, just based on the previous listing as well. So I don't know why the tax has it at 21.
There we go. Okay. So that would be the real reason why we're not coming up. And that's why our numbers are coming up a little bit different as well. 2410 based on a previous listing, but the tax records are showing
21, right?
Records are showing 2100. I wonder why.
I know.
2150 square feet. There isn't any addition onto that. That's all addition. That's all the traditional house, right?
So what my thought is no, because, and just based off the open house, honestly, remember that certificate of occupancy that I was talking about previously for their last spuds that they received? I don't know if you remember that. But it looks like there was an addition on whenever they did that remodel inside and closed up the pool outside. So that little sunroom, the fireplace room, and that changing area off their master, that is an addition.
Okay.
Which I think is why it's that 2410.
So you'd probably want to get into a little bit more on this one and actually try to see if you could pull permits on this one and make sure that would see if it was permitted if you were a buyer's agent and you were looking at this, because the way that I'm going to look at it, and we're going to go back and change this now, we're going to edit our search. Our square footage, you said it was 2410. Okay, so then I'm going to make this 2000. And we're going to go, this one is going to be 2650. So now,
Todd, do you have to request an update for that square footage, that added square footage from?
what I would
county?
what I would do is when you're going to list this property, you're going to, you can always put in your source of square footage, and you can put in your source of square footage, which is the seller, which is probably not going to be very accurate. If you're a buyer's agent, you're going to make sure you warn your buyer, hey, if square footage is a material fact, we're going to want to make sure that we get this checked out. Or if you have an appraisal done, if they've had an appraisal done and the appraisal comes up at 24 whatever square footage, then you can use appraisal as your source of square footage. Most oftentimes people use tax records, but if there is an appraisal that will add more square footage, I would absolutely use the appraisal and just let people know, and put it in the MLS that your source of square footage is from an appraisal.
So there is a case in our community where they took out the garage and put in a family room instead, and they don't count the square footage of the garage, right? Is that right?
No. The only way you'd count square footage of a garage is if it was actually turned into livable space.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Permitted into livable space. If it was permitted in livable space, it would.
So the developer actually, according to the developer's square footage, it would have been only the garage, but because they replaced the garage with a family room, they added that square footage. So that would have to be taken to the county, right? The county.
As long as it was permitted and it was in your tax records, and if they're being taxed on it, everything is fine. If they're not being taxed on it, what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a reassessment of value on that property when you go when you turn this in on your next sale. And if that square footage is jumped up by 300-400 square feet, then it's going to be on the next people who buy the house with that square footage. That's what they're going to be taxed at. So you're going to definitely see an increase in their tax bill.
And what about all the time that they hadn't paid for the tax because that wasn't?
They won't go back. They won't go back on it. No, they won't. They won't retro and go back on taxes. But what can happen is if that was not permitted, the city can force them to return it to its original state.
Oh boy, so they would have to convert the family room back into the garage?
Correct.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you want to make sure that if things are not permitted, you want to make sure that you can. I would definitely go through the time and effort to get it permitted. And you can get things permitted. Hector, are you on? Did I see your face on here?
Yes, I'm here.
So I know that you've got a lot more experience on this. You can get things permitted after something has been done, and if it's not permitted, you can apply to the city and get your permits, right?
You can request an inspector from the city to come in, but it depends on the level of construction that you've done. Because if everything is closed and someone is actually using the livable space, it's hard for the inspector to assume that you framed it properly, that the electrical or the plumbing that may be existing, as well
Right.
as the AC system is correct without actually ripping everything apart. It's possible, but it's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's again, like you said, it depends on what the level of remodel was done and what they actually did.
Yeah, this is
But
in
yeah,
a gated community, so these are standard models that they gave the option to the owner to convert that garage that they originally set up and turn it into a family room as the first owner of the property.
What I can tell you is that if you do have, like Michael is saying, a garage that was converted into livable space, and now you're using it as livable space, but you didn't count it as square footage on the sale of the house, and say you have some kind of a fire or something happen there, I believe the first fine that you get is like 17 grand.
Wow. Okay.
So it's not a whole lot of fun when that happens, if you find a house like that.
So that requires a lot of homework to try and figure out, what is that, what is certifiable here.
Well, but
Yeah,
see, and Mike just said a lot of builders have what they call flex space when they're building something like this, and that sounds like what they've done there. But what isn't clear is if it truly is flex space, and if they have chosen to modify that and turn it into a living space, that should be permitted.
Yeah, that's actually a third garage.
Yeah, so it should be part of their taxable square footage, and it
Just
should be
remember what
permitted.
the
Everything should be done.
Story is the builder said we could do this. The builder got permits for that space to be a space and not a garage anymore.
Right. So,
as they built it.
and again, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, what the seller's story is the builder told us that we could do this.
Oh, I see.
But if the builder didn't do it,
Right.
and they did it themselves, who knows what kind of quality of craftsmanship they have there, whether or not they followed code or anything. So that I would be very, very wary of as a buyer when I'm going in. If that's the story, oh, well, we just enclosed it afterwards. The builder told us it was an option, so we just went ahead and did it afterwards. Well, okay, great. Well, did you not pull any permits? Who did the work? Who was the construction? Is there any warranty on their work? Those are all questions that you would want to ask as a buyer's agent.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
The operative word here is living space. If you use it as a storage, it doesn't matter. You can have it.
Yes. Okay. So we ran down the wrong rabbit hole there. We're back out now. Okay, so I made the adjustments and then I'm back over here looking at the comps again now. Okay, so we've got the one for 550 that we looked at. Here's another one for 550. Cape Royal, 2,400 square feet. So this is pretty much the same for 550. Let's take a look at the interior of this one. Not bad. Granite, looks clean. Yeah, it's a little dated in some areas, but it's at least the kitchen has been updated and the bathrooms have been kind of updated. That's the community pool. And then we've got Amy's listing. Oh, hey, by the way, before you get fined, get in here and get those edited out. You can't have your signs in any of your photos. You're going to get fined if you don't, if those are in there.
Oh boy.
They put it up too early. I will take that down.
Yep. I am shocked that the photographer did it, because the photographers know better. They know better than to take pictures with your sign in it. So yeah, before you get a sign before you get a fine, get in there and make sure that those are taken out.
Okay.
You can just all you have to do is if you just edit the photo and blur it out so that it can't be seen, that's fine. As long as they can't read the name and company, they'll probably be okay with it.
So those are blurred out. Take a look again. Just let me know what you think. The photographer did blur them, but maybe, let me know.
Yeah.
You can still make it Berkshire Hathaway.
I would probably just Photoshop it out completely.
Okay.
Just to make sure. I would hate to get all right. Actually, I would hate to see us get a fine since I'm the co-listing agent on this. Nice flooring, pretty house. This one's been really well done. So again, when you're looking at prices, the one that needs to be completely remodeled, and then this one that was partially remodeled, and they're only 10,000 less. I think that's you're good with your prices there. 575.
This one's funky. It looks like it has a sink in the living room.
It's got a very clinical look.
Mm-hmm.
All white.
Let's see where it is. And then the garage situation is kind of weird here too. See that?
Oh, thanks. Did I miss it?
Like
right here?
Yeah.
I wonder if that was an old wet bar.
Maybe, yeah. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's a weird situation.
What's a place? Yeah, what a place to put a sink in.
Yeah, that's an odd spot for a sink. But your landscaping on this one didn't look like it was very nice comparatively to yours.
No, it's just kind of plain outside.
Yeah.
And then look at this.
Oh, ew. Ew. Okay, yeah. Yeah, yours is a way better option.
Yeah.
589, 599, 600. So, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click all of them right now. And we're going to go over here and I'm going to do a CMA. I'm going to click CMA. And I'm going to use all results, but I want to go to statistical buyer CMA. And it just pops me open a new window. And this right here.
Todd, what's a good number to do a CMA? I mean, like, is there a minimum number, 6 or 8?
I really like to have at least 3 active listings and a couple that are under contract if I can, and then at least 3 sold listings to give me a better idea. But again, on this one, that's when I'm drilling down and really trying to nail down a price. Right now, if I'm just doing a quick one and I'm just trying to get a general price, let's say somebody wants me to come over and do a marketing proposal for them, and I just want to get an idea what the property is worth before I go there. That's what this is. If I'm drilling down and doing an actual CMA on a house and really trying to come up with the right number, I would go into a lot more detail on, after I go to their house, I would see what their features were, what the conditions were, that kind of stuff, so that when I come home, I would know how I can drill it down and really get into, the features of the house so that I can get a more accurate price as to what I think it's worth. Right now, I'm just getting a general ballpark.
Just a quick question. So if there is a feature that is not included in your house, such as a pool or whatever, would you add an additional, whatever it is, 50,000, 75,000 to, have a fair assessment in terms of comparisons?
Well, first of all, I have never seen a pool that's worth $50,000 or $75,000 on a house unless it's a multi-million dollar home. It's like, if I'm looking at a standard pool on a house, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to either, I can do it either way. I can either add $10,000 onto the price of that house to say what it's worth, or I can take it $10,000 off of mine without the pool to say what it's worth. So you can make your adjustment there. Appraisers have their own way of doing it, which is they always subtract off of the price. They don't add on to the other price. They subtract off of your price what the other features are that yours doesn't have, or vice versa. So they go from the subject property and they add and subtract off of that. So just looking at this, we've got 6 of them that are active. Your low is $550, your high is $699. Your average list price per square foot is $262 a square foot. So that gives you a basic ballpark. So if I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, my average price is probably going to be in the upper 500s. That's what I'm thinking. That's what the active price is. Under contract 520, coming soon 575. Closed, they're between 500 and 750. The average price is 650. So I'm thinking this probably is going to be, just based on what has sold in there. I would say this is probably going to sell in at least in the upper 5s, maybe low 6s, depending on the condition of the house, just based on the square footage. Again, that's a 2,300 square foot that sold for $281 a square foot. So if I take $281 a square foot times my 2,400, I would come up with probably low 6s is what I would think that it would be worth. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on how I just come up with a basic ballpark of what a property is worth? Do you want me to go through it again, or do we want to? I can do it for another property if you want, so we can run through it one more time.
Can you do a luxury model?
Sure. All right.
Something in the 1.5 to 2 million range, maybe.
Okay. So I'm going to need some kind of an address.
I'll give you an address. Oh, that's not really luxury, actually. It's just a regular squat peak house.
A regular squat peak house?
Yeah. Highest squat peak, I mean.
Okay. Well, that's probably going to be pretty close, price-wise.
It'll be about 9, maybe $1 million.
Okay. That's good. 900 to $1 million is good. All right. So we're going to start over again. We're going to do a quick search. We're going to click on our status. We're going to go shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to change our dates under contract, close of escrow date. We're going to go 90 days back. And single family house.
Yep.
And close that. Put that in. What's the address?
2211 East State Avenue. 85020, I believe that's it is.
All right, see if that'll pull it up. There we go.
So 22nd.
Yep, just off of 22nd Street and just south of Camelback.
That should be in north of Lincoln.
That says East Camelback Road, so that is not correct.
2211 East State Avenue.
Remove that. 2211 East
State Avenue.
S-T-E. There we go. There's Orangewood.
Okay, that should be it.
That's the one. All right. So we're going to keep that. Biltmore Highlands. All right. So we'll just do square.
Yeah, that's backed up straight onto the preserves, right?
Yeah, that backs up to the preserve there. Yep.
It's well, that's the actual mountain.
Yeah, that's
That's the summit right there.
Oh yeah. Orangewood, Glendale. Oh, that's a great neighborhood up there.
Yeah. Madison Heights Elementary.
Let's go Monsoon. 2211 East STE.
I put that because it's not been sold for, at least I don't think it's been sold for a while.
Let's see. 2211 East State Route, 2211 State Avenue. There's the one. That's that one. And we have 2,900 square feet. So now we're going to go back into here and we're going to go into our square foot range. 2,600, 3,200. Now we've got 3 of them in there. So nothing active. And that might be what you come across right now because there just isn't a lot of actives in there. So let's just take a look at detail and see what this shows us. 815, a million.
Todd?
Yep, 1.6.
How about extending the period?
Extending the area?
No, the period. So, up to 6 months maybe.
Well, I can go back. It's all it's going to do is bring me more solds. It's not going to bring me any actives.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But looking at that one, there we've got 3,100 square feet. That's 1.6. Yeah, so that's where you're going to definitely need to know a little bit more about the house itself. Let's see, that one.
How about expanding the search area?
Sold 3 years ago. Actually, no, it didn't sell 3 years ago. It was refied 3 years ago.
I think it was sold in the 90s.
93. Yeah. Yep. The last time it was sold.
That was my parents' house when we first moved to.
Oh. That's a great neighborhood.
It was a great neighborhood. My dad paid $170,000 for it.
Wow. Yeah, it doesn't go back far enough to tell me when your parents owned it. I'd have to look back
That
at
was
it.
in the 1970s.
I bet I could go back and go deed history. I could get back farther. That was 1983 is where it goes back to. But I think I can probably go back farther. Yep. Okay, so yeah, this one is going to be really hard to try to figure out values, but you can see here you've got one next door sold for 772. That one sold for 1.6. That one sold for 910. So you're kind of all over the map. This is one of those where, okay, I'm going to have a range when I go to talk to them. I'm going to have a range somewhere between probably 800 and 1.5, 1.6 based on where it's located in there and when the last time it was remodeled, the finishes on the inside of the house, if they've done, knowing that this house was built in the 70s, it hopefully it would have been opened up on the inside so it's not completely closed off like the 70s homes were. But I can always easily go in here and edit my search, and I can change my search area. Let's just say we're going to go in here and change this. We want to pull everything in this area.
You might be able to pull a little wider, and like that's a view lot to the max too, so it's hard to figure out what that's worth.
Yeah. We've got one that's active in there. Now I want to see what's active. For $799.
That's pretty good bargain, right?
That's a great price. What's wrong with it?
Too close to the freeway?
Probably. Looks like
That
it's
one might
been,
be close to Glendale also.
hmm looks like it needs some new flooring, basic kitchen cabinets. Nice pool. Great photography. Oh yeah, you're right on the freeway. Look at that.
Yeah. That is it.
You gotta
That
deal
would
with
be
it, boys.
why.
That was empty desert when the septic house was built.
Yeah. That's funny.
My house, that house is a tough one.
Yeah,
It's
that's
probably got a extra $100,000 view.
by where it's located.
The
Yeah.
whole entire city.
Yeah.
Do those preserve properties fetch a premium because of views and stuff? Mountain views?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's depending on where it's at and what the views are and what the orientation is. Yeah, they'll fetch a tremendous amount of money. I mean, you can have $100,000 or $200,000 in premium just because of the view where it's located.
So that's where the difference in prices are here. Because
Yeah.
one, there's a couple here that are over $1 million, and then there's, all these that are, under.
Yeah, I mean, you can
900,000.
see this one is 815,000, and it's on a flat lot. It's not going to have any views. The only thing you might have is some views of you got some views of the mountain right there out of your front yard.
From the driveway.
Yep, from the driveway. And you can see this house is one. Oh my gosh. I've sold this house.
No way. Really?
This is almost identical to the house that I sold a year and a half ago. I guess it's been 2 years ago now that I sold it. It's almost identical, except the kitchen is,
Very similar.
wow, it is really similar to the one that I sold.
So it's got the same floor plan.
Yeah, it's got like that little half railing that was in that living room area with the little drop down.
And I don't know
Wow.
if there's a builder in that area, but those railings are very prominent.
Yeah.
Drop or sunken living room, whatever you want.
Yep. Yeah, and the one that I sold was for $650, I think is what we got for it 2 years ago. So you can see prices have gone up a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it's at $815.
Is that 30%?
Yep.
How about,
And then
Todd, properties that are backed up to the golf courses and stuff where you got a lot of open space?
Yeah, it will get you a premium. Sometimes they're harder to sell though, depending on where they're located on the golf course. I mean, if they're right by a tee box and there's no privacy in your backyard, that's going to be a negative. If it's, 230 yards down the fairway on the left-hand side and there's nothing but nothing between you and the golf course, you're right in the landing zone for where people drive and knock them into your yard. So again, that's going to be a problem. So those are some things that may not bring you the value that you'd think you would, but if you're on the golf course.
Right.
Just generally, yeah, they'll give you a premium. You get a premium for being on the golf course. And
Yeah,
again, it's going to depend on the course as to how much that premium is.
Got it.
All right. I think that's all I have, unless you guys have something else you want to talk about. Anything else you guys need? Amy, are you doing an open house this weekend again, or what's going on this weekend? She's not listening. She fell asleep. I bored her to death.
She got a call on it.
Yeah, she's busy selling it right now. All right, that's all I have, guys.
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome. See you later.
Take care. Bye.
Hey, Todd, could I ask you for something quickly before you go?
Yep.
I kind of got lost at the beginning. You went to do a quick search to start, and then I didn't know where you went from there.
Okay, so quick search. And then I go down to status. And I change my status to include everything from active. So I just hit my control button and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually shift button. Sorry. Go up to the top, shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I go down 5, that takes me to closed because I want all the statuses from active through closed. And then I change my date to whatever I want my date to be, whether I want it 6 months back or 90 days back or whatever I want back. And then I put all my other criteria in there. If I'm looking at a dwelling type, if I want to do an apartment style, because I'm going to run another one here real quick because I can't believe that they're selling as quickly as they are and from what they are in this place. Bedrooms, maximum 2-bedroom and at least 1 bathroom, and square footage max of 1,100 square feet. So it's a smaller condo. And I'm going to do zip code 85018. And I want to see what we've got out there. 205. Couple of them for 205. 274. There's closed. Ooh, look at these closed ones. Oh, those are 1-1s. I need to change my edit my search. I need it to be at least a 2-bedroom, not just a 1 or 2 bedroom. So between 2. All right. Now details. 275 is the cheapest that's out there. Can't believe these sold for 175.
Gotta have a house.
How long ago? May. 190s. So there's still some out there that are 200 and less. That nothing on the market now. Now you can't find anything less than, you know, one's pending at 240.
Todd, would you look
Yeah.
at how well the complex is run as well, if these prices are too good to be true?
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely want to look at the neighborhood, because it's probably all of 85018 is not a great neighborhood, guys, just so you know.
There's crime.
There are some areas that are kind of rough in there. But there was one in
Call it
here.
Arcadia not.
I wanted to see, let's see if I can find the one that I wanted to look for. Yep, this is the one right here. This is the condo complex that I own one in. And I couldn't believe that one just sold for $347,000 in there for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 800 square foot condo.
What's the HOA there?
HOA is $159 a month.
That's not too bad.
It's really cheap. It's on my side where we own on the other side. It includes all your utilities for $295. So
Very nice.
all utilities included for $295, and there is no HOA regulation for Airbnbs. So these can be rented out short term, and I know that's why this one sold for $347. Crazy.
Yeah, there's the Airbnb issue as well, because some of these complexes don't allow Airbnbs.
Yeah, most of them don't allow it, but this one I know does. So that is